Hi, welcome to the Down Syndrome Association of Houston's Empowerment Through Education Workshop Series. My name is Kim Torres. I'm the Executive Director at DSAH, and today we're going to be discussing love and empowerment, how to empower your child with special needs while maintaining your guiding role. This is going to be a two-part workshop series as it was designed to be a little bit longer than what we've been posting here on social media over the last couple of weeks. So join me today at 10 o'clock. I don't even know what time it is, at noon. And then you'll get the second half of the series next Thursday at noon. Alternatively, both parts will be posted on our YouTube channel, which you can view at any time. So the purpose of Love and Empowerment, how to empower your child with special needs while maintaining your guiding role, is to really teach those empowerment skills to you as parents, but understanding that that doesn't mean you're giving up the love and support that you desire to give your child with special needs. So we're going to be defining some key terms that are instrumental in this process. The first one is, what is independence? And you'll see me looking down. I'm just kind of looking at my notes. If you would like a copy of this PowerPoint, we can definitely send it out to you. But what is independence? At the most basic level is having autonomy over one's own life. So independence is being able to self-govern. Oh, there goes the FedEx man. Self-govern your own life. Very key point to this definition is being independent includes needing help. I want to say that one more time. Being independent or having self-governance over one's own life includes needing help. And a lot of times we get parents that are concerned about teaching independence skills to their kiddos with Down syndrome because they don't want to relinquish that ability to help. And what we're talking about today is teaching independence skills to your child or adult with Down syndrome and helping at the same time, because we all need help regardless of our if we have Down syndrome or not. So there are 5 components to independence that we will be discussing over the next 2 sessions. Today we will be discussing choice making and problem solving, and then next week we will be looking into decision making, goal setting, and self-awareness. These are all skills that can be taught across the lifetime of raising a child with Down syndrome. Okay, so choice making. Choice making is one of my favorite independent skills because it is something that we can start very, very young with our kiddos. Choice making is defined as appropriately choosing between a finite number of choices. With our littlest kiddos, that is choosing between 2 options, A and B. As our kiddos get older, that can be choosing between 3, 4, 5 options, but there's not an unlimited set of options. There's a finite amount to choose from, okay? Research shows that teaching the skill of choice making is actually a high importance skill for educators. So that educational content can be more easily accessed and maintained if our kiddos are taught to choice make during and before that process. Okay, so how do we teach choice making? The most simplest definition of it, it's to provide options. We teach choice making by providing options. So a good example of this was yesterday we had an online session with my son and his special ed teacher. And the first thing she said to him after good morning and all of that was, would you like to work on addition or spelling first? And then he got to choose. First, that gives him the opportunity to practice making choices in life. And second of all, that creates buy-in for doing and completing one of these tasks. He now has made the decision of which one we're going to do first. It was his choice and he's going to do it first. Options for us as parents are simple things like letting your child choose which shirt to wear to school. Now, if you gave my son 5 or 6 options or even infinite options of clothing choices, he would pick something completely inappropriate to wear out in public, okay? Like a 3-piece suit to the swimming pool. That would be his choice, and he would be perfectly happy with it. So in choice making, what we want to do is we want to narrow those choices down to, are we going to wear the red shirt or the green shirt to school today? Okay? Or if we're going to the swimming pool, say, we are not wearing a 3-piece suit today, but you have the choice between wearing your shark swimming trunks or your surfboard swimming trunks. Which one do you choose for today? Other options include choosing what will be available for a meal. Okay, and I'm a big proponent in our house of you eat what I make. I only make one meal. But there are ways to include choices in that, okay? So if I have made tacos, for instance, everybody's going to have a taco. I'm not making a second meal. But I can put all of the toppings out on a cutting board. So I can have tomatoes, lettuce, and avocado slices, let's say. Those are our 3 options. And I can ask my son to choose which ones he wants on his taco. And maybe the choice is you need to choose one of them, or maybe you need to choose 2 of them, depending on where your kiddo is in the choice, the ability to make choices. You can expand upon that. Another option with meal planning is at lunchtime, if you're packing a lunch for school, and it's very simple to choose between a peanut butter and jelly or ham sandwich. I mean, they're both right there in the fridge, and you need to make one or the other. Which one do you want in your lunchbox today? The choice is yours. Peanut butter and jelly or ham and cheese. And let your child or adult with Down syndrome choose. The next option that's very easy to implement in your life is outings. Where would you like to go today? Okay, first of all, if you ask that as an infinite possibilities question, that's not choice making. That's something called decision making, which we're going to talk about next week. But instead, offer up options that you're okay with going to, okay? We are going to leave the house today, and I would like you to choose whether we go to the park, whether we go to the toy store, or whether we go to, the movies, okay? And very young kids, it's just a choice, which one they like the most. In my house, I now have to explain that regardless of which one we go to, we're going to spend the same amount of money. So don't sit there and contemplate which one you're going to get like the biggest prize out of. It's the one you want to go to today. And as your kids with Down syndrome get better at choice making, you'll see that they'll also start to barter with you, which is a great skill to have in life. So they'll be able to say, well, today I want to go to the movies, but tomorrow we're going to the park. And so they'll try to make a deal with you. These are all skills that our kids with Down syndrome need as they become adults. They need to be able to make a decision on their own, or to make a choice. And they need to be able to have that ability to barter back and forth. Even if they're nonverbal, they can do that bartering process in their head to understand that they can participate in conversations and decision making. This is an instrumental skill to have to ensure safety as our kids grow up. We need them to understand that they have the choice to decide yes or no. They have the choice to decide safety or not safety. Other things that we would suggest is to provide visual supports. This could be as simple as, okay, so your school's going to have all these great little graphic picture things that they use, and I don't have those at home. So when my son was very little, it was a sheet of notebook paper and a pencil, and I would draw 2 stick figures really fast and be like, which one do you want? Do you want the one that is wearing the red shirt, or do you want the one that's wearing the green shirt? And he would pick. Then as we got a little bit older, and I still use this a lot with our adults with Down syndrome in our day program, especially the ones that are nonverbal, it's as simple as showing 2 things. Would you like to go to fitness class or art class? Point to the one you want. And there's no difference between my 2 hands, but they remember that fitness was over here and art was over here. And then they can choose which one they want to go to. Remember that you're going to have to provide a wait time in that the choice may not come right away. They may need to contemplate it for whole minutes, 5, 6 minutes. Give them time, sit there in silence. Every couple of minutes, remind them what their choices are. Fitness, art. You choose. Now that was only 4 seconds of silence, and it might have been painful for you, but our individuals with Down syndrome need more silence than that oftentimes to be able to process the decision. Sometimes minutes of silence, with every once in a while you just reminding them, fitness or art, you choose. It's a lesson for us to step back and give them that amount of time they need to make the choice. It empowers them to make the choice. It makes them more engaged in the activity that they have chosen. Next is that you definitely want to also teach the results that are going to happen because of the choices. So let's go back to choosing activities. Okay, so it is August 15th in Houston, Texas. It's like 100 degrees outside with 100% humidity, so the heat index is like 115. It is hot. Okay, I walk up to my kiddo with Down syndrome and I say, you have the choice between renting a movie on TV or going outside to play at the park. And I wait, and they pick park. And I say, are you sure? Movie or park? They pick park. The next thing that you need to work on is explaining the consequences. Understand that it is hot outside right now. You will get hot and sweaty. You don't like to get hot and sweaty sometimes. Are you sure you want to choose the park? If you stay inside in the movies, you will not get hot and sweaty. But at the park you will. So do you want watch a movie or go to the park? And I'll be honest, there are times that My son adamant that he wants to park. Yes, I'm okay with getting hot. I definitely want to get sweaty. And then we get to the park and 3 minutes in, he's like, it's too hot. And we end up going home. But the key to this is that you are teaching that there are consequences to every decision. He or she may not listen to all of those consequences. They may not even understand them all. But over the long haul of years of you offering these options with consequences, they're going to learn that every option, every choice we make has consequences. And we just need to be aware of them. As your kiddo gets better at making choices, you're going to want to increase the number of choices available to them. I always start with 2, and then you can move up. There could be 3 options, 4 options. I have found that the more options available, the more likely that we need some sort of visual support. Holding these options in our short-term memory, using our working memory to hold them in short-term memory is very hard for our children and adults with Down syndrome. And so being able to visually see those choices is easier for them if there's going to be like 5 choices. That's true for me as well. So just be aware that you might need to as your choices increase, that you might need to provide some more visual supports. Now, the last one that we'll talk about on choice making is that there is not a choice to be had. And that sometimes is when safety is the primary component to the activity that you're doing. A good example of this is we went through a period of time where my son would just sit down in the parking lot or right at the front entrance to a store and refuse to move. It's not an option to sit in the middle of a parking lot. Or to sit in the road in the middle of the parking lot. That's a safety hazard. It's not an option. And there is no option available for you except to come with me at that moment. These are teachable moments where you will just have to explain to your child or adult that there is no option right now. I am your primary caregiver, and I am saying at this moment in time, there is no option. We will move now. And sometimes they get up and move and sometimes they don't. But the key is that I want everybody to know that I am not telling you to create options in the middle of a crisis. If there is a tornado warning outside, please seek shelter. Don't give your child the option to stay out and not seek shelter with the rest of your family. There are times that you cannot provide a choice. The key here is to explain why that choice is not available. And I would always use the word safety. It's for your safety. If you start using that word over and over and over, there's a good chance that they're going to start to see a pattern that when safety is involved, I don't get a choice. Next one we're going to talk about is problem solving. And I am not sure why my notes went all crazy here. Okay, so we are going to talk problem solving. Problem solving is defined as weighing the pros and cons of a potential action. Okay, we kind of discussed this with choice making, but where the parent was doing that. Special needs parents have a tendency to problem solve for their children because it's faster. This is not conducive to long-term independence. I am guilty. If you're watching this now, you're probably raising your hand too. Problem solving is time consuming for our kiddos with Down syndrome. And many times it is faster and easier on everybody's life if we just solve the problem right away. I'm guilty in the smallest things. Mom, I can't find my toy. Okay, I'll go look for it for you. Why am I looking for it for him? Well, because it's easier than walking him through all of the steps. Have you tried your drawer? Have you looked under your bed? Have you looked at the back staircase? It's easier. It's just simpler. I probably know where the toy is already. And so I problem solve for him. Um, Mom, I can't do this. I can't open this lid. I just walk into the kitchen, open it, and walk away. It took 10 seconds of my life. Whereas if I actually sat there and taught him the process of how to open the lid, it would have taken 5 minutes of my life. The problem with this is that over the long haul, I'm actually creating more work on myself. I'm doing everything for him, so he's not learning how to do it for himself. And therefore, I'm creating a pattern of dependence on me, so that when he's no longer 9 years old, when he's 49 years old, when he's 69 years old, he is still dependent on me to complete those tasks, to solve those problems for him. And so it is a constant battle inside my head to be able to sit back and say, you're not solving that problem for him. He needs to solve it himself. When both of our kids start arguing and he comes crying down the stairs that he's not happy with his sister, the easiest thing for me to do, and I'm sure some of you know this as well, is to go find sister, who's typically developing and has a very robust vocabulary, get all the details from her, and then lay down a verdict. I haven't taught him how to problem solve. I haven't taught him how to navigate social problems with other people. All I've taught him is mom's coming to the rescue. She'll figure it out. And so what I have to learn how to do is to sit back and say, you need to go figure it out with your sister. Here are some questions you can ask her. Figure it out. And it's hard. It's hard. But it's a necessary skill that we need to teach our kids. Another example, back to my teaching days, I had this wonderful student named Christian, and he could never had anything to write with. So we'd sit down at a spelling test, and he would have nothing to write with. And for the longest time, I would hand him a pencil, be like, take your spelling test. You need your spelling test done. And one day I just said, well, what are you going to do? And he ended up sitting there through the whole spelling test and couldn't figure out what to do. No one had ever given him the chance to problem solve that, hey, maybe I should ask a friend for a pencil, or maybe I should find a crayon in my desk, or maybe I should look around the classroom to see if there's a pencil someplace else. He had no ability to come up with an answer on his own. And so after he sat there through that test, we sat down together, and I said, what are some other options you could have done besides just sitting there and not taking the test? And it was like light bulb moments when he realized, you mean I could have used a crayon? Yes, you could have used a crayon. And so the next week he had some problem solving skills in his repertoire to be able to navigate that situation of when he couldn't find his pencil. It was really rewarding to see the next spelling test come back in crayon. It was like, okay, it may not be perfect, but at least I came up with a solution to my problem that at least will get me through the spelling test. So, our two biggest skills, I'm going to cut us off here, and we'll go over the remainder of them next week. But in teaching independence, we want to teach choice making, okay, between a finite number of options. We can show visuals or hands. We want to give wait time. We want to give our kids the chance to make a choice without us doing it for them. And we want to allow them to problem solve. We cannot solve all of their problems all the time. And again, I bring it back to safety. If we're solving all of their problems all the time between ages 3 and 18, Have they learned the skills they need to learn to solve a major safety problem when they're 25, 35, and they're out on their own and somebody presents them with an option that they should say no to? Teaching these skills, these small choice-making and problem-solving skills, are how we get to the point where our adult with Down syndrome can turn around and say, no, leave me alone. I'm not doing that. I'm staying safe. So next week, see you as we go over the remainder of our tips on how to teach independence at home. Hope you've enjoyed this session. It's always a pleasure being with you. Bye.